Hi everyone, it's lovely to see you tonight. Sorry, we had a little technical glitch just before there. So this is our second attempt at our webinar this evening. Second time lucky. And I'm very pleased to be joined tonight by three of the mentors of the ESTA PGCert course, which is ESTA's, one of ESTA's online qualifications for teachers, string teachers, but now also the course has been expanded to other instruments, which you can read about on the website, which is estaeducation.co.uk. But my three panel members tonight are Helen Dromey, Laura Ritchie and Sarah Crooks. Hi ladies, thanks for joining me. Pleasure. Sarah, perhaps you could start off by telling us how you got involved with the PGCert.
Okay, well it's been a long journey, I suppose, towards the ESTA PGCert, being a mentor on the course. I've been a mentor on the course for 3 years now, so I'm quite in the groove with that. I absolutely love that role. But I suppose my journey started when I arrived at the RNCM to study the violin and teaching as well, a postgraduate a couple of years, well, about 15 years ago, I think. And since then, I studied teaching there, did a PGCE and learned how to teach. Well, I started to learn how to teach both stringed instruments, and following my studies at the RNCM, I balanced a performing career with a teaching career, like so many of us do. And as time has gone by, I think my passion for teaching grows every single day. I think I can't think of anything that I would rather do for my job. And I'm lucky because I actually now run RNCM Young Strings program, which was connected to the PGCE course that I did at the RNCM all those years ago. And that's a wonderfully privileged job. I have such a wonderful team of people to work with, and we're very lucky there. And we work in a very, very holistic way. So I incorporate a lot of Dalcroze eurythmics and Kadai methodology into our teaching on that program. So that's a personal interest of mine. And I hope I bring that expertise to the ESTA PGCert. So yes, and then alongside running the RNCM programs, I teach pedagogy at the RNCM to the undergraduates and postgraduates. And I teach in lots and lots of different settings. I've worked for music services, running groups, Saturday morning groups, all sorts of things. So yeah, quite wide-ranging experience now that I'm getting old and experienced.
Well, that's great to have somebody with such a wealth of experience on board, mentoring our mentees, which apparently is the word for you guys. Yes. If you want to sign up for this course, you get to have time with the mentors like Sarah and Helen and Laura. Is it every week? Is that how often it happens, Helen?
I think some of us meet every week. My group meets once a fortnight, and sometimes Sarah and my groups join together when we want to have a really good debate, a really lively debate on some topics. And then other times it's better for us to work in smaller groups so that we've got, you know, a little bit more time for everyone to work through ideas. And yeah, so it kind of varies, but they can contact us via email whenever they would like to as well.
Fantastic. So Helen, tell us a bit about your background in music.
Well, like Sarah, I have been involved with this course right from the beginning. So we're just completing the 3rd year. But a lot of my teaching work has been with Hub. So I've worked for West Sussex Music Trust with a lot of group teaching, a lot of whole class ensemble work, and individuals as well. So I'd say that hub workings are kind of a little bit of my speciality. I now I have my sort of own private teaching, which I do, and I'm actually studying for a PhD in string pedagogy at Portsmouth. So everything strings is kind of like...
You're a busy lady, Helen. My goodness, congratulations. And Laura, tell us about your background. I should say Professor Laura Ritchie, Chichester University. Tell us, you were quite instrumental in setting up this course, weren't you?
Yes, so I wrote the course with Richard Crozier in the beginning. So we wrote the course and devised it because actually in teaching, there's so many people who teach, which is wonderful, but at the time it was the first professional qualification for a string teacher to say, actually, I have this postgraduate qualification to teach my instrument. And it's having the chance to reflect on your practice as a professional is something that we Well, as teachers, we teach people how to learn, and it's really nice to learn for ourselves, and especially to learn about teaching. So that's one of the things that this course really gives you a chance to do, is deepen your practice. It's not the initial how to teach. Of course, there are elements of how to deliver and devise and come up with better ways of teaching and more creative ways of teaching, but it's for people who already are teachers themselves. So all the students on the course teach at least half a dozen students every week, and that doesn't mean one group of 6. It means half a dozen lessons. Some people do teach group lessons, but most of the people primarily teach one-to-one lessons. So they're private teachers, either working for themselves with their own studio, or working at schools and working for different teaching agencies. We get all sorts of people from across the world. So, but my background, I started I'm a cellist. I'm one of the cello mentors, and I trained in America, and I was always fascinated by the way people learn. And I had the really great privilege of, when I was a student, my teacher was writing some technique books. And so, as people write these kind of books, you are sometimes the lucky guinea pig. So I was one of the lucky guinea pigs to go through the Hans Jensen technique books about scales and thumb position. And, some of the bits that didn't get in the final version, and because this works even better, or, oh no, that song, we need to get the copyright for it, or, those kind of things. But the idea of how to teach and go through the whole process of how does somebody learn is fascinating to me. But so I studied in America, then I came to the UK, did the Royal College of Music, my master's there, and then my PhD there in the psychology of learning and teaching in music. And I wrote the undergraduate degrees at Chichester Conservatoire for pedagogy, teaching across instruments. But this is the first one that's instrument specific. And the thing that makes it so special is the mentors, because you can, each one of the units, there are 4 units in the course, so 4 different topics, subject areas that you study, like modules, but they're units, and each one of those is instrument specific, and so you're led, both Sarah and Helen lead the units. I'm the course leader across all the different instruments, and then they talk to all the students, and then in our smaller groups we work with them, the mentors. So I have the cello students, and they have violin students and viola students. Yeah, it's really fun.
And tell me, Helen, when you have these units with your students, perhaps you could tell us that the one that fills me with dread, I saw that one of them was called technique. Is that right? Technical? Always make the run cold. I start thinking, in what way are you working with technique with a group or individuals?
Okay, well, this unit, I think this is the unit that we all really want, and it's the one that everyone gets actually really excited about, because they want all the answers. And of course, no one has all the answers. That's kind of the whole point. But we get together and we really go into the nitty-gritty of how you might break these, let's face it, incredibly hard things down, and to gain as many possible strategies to teach bow strokes, and how to keep reviewing initial setup, and how to, oh my goodness, can you ever have enough strategies to teach vibrato? I mean, I just think that's always the biggie. So we just sit and we're really honest about it, and we kind of say, well, what goes wrong sometimes, and why can't children do this? And we just put our heads together and we go back to basics, and we just try to sort of get down to all of those things that, as string teachers, we want to know, because we want our children to be able to do them when we know that they'll be able to play, their best and really enjoy their music making if those basics are secure. But it's like a really nice, it's kind of like a working laboratory. It's the unit that we tend to get together for, and one that we tend to deliver in person. So although there's lots of online materials, we get together and actually play and look at one another and consider, how that might work with different children and adults.
How much input are the students able to have? If, like, for instance, if they're having a particular trouble with a particular thing, are they able to bring that to you and say, I don't know, vibrato, for instance, or is it set exactly which technical things you're doing?
Well, we make sure that we cover everything that we consider essential, which is basically everything to do with playing. But I think that it would depend on the cohort and what their interests are. And of course, yeah, certain things have to be covered, but there are always topics which people want to come back to. And, you know, there's time to kind of just have a really good think and have a review and then come back with questions. I mean, I think the fact that students can talk to one another as well as their mentors as well, and they can bounce ideas off one another. When we have our meetings together, you know, people, it's a very cathartic moment when you sort of say, oh my goodness, I've had a real problem with this. And there's always someone to sort of say, oh, have you tried this? Have you tried this piece? Did you say this? How did you word it? And everyone's kind of interested in those same things. It's at the forefront of everyone's minds. You can't bore anyone with all these matters, you know, like you possibly can at home,
Yeah.
you know, when you're talking shop all the time. So I think, you know, we revisit some things quite regularly. And I think vibrato is always included in that. But, you know, general teaching things too, not just technical matters.
Yeah, we've had a question come in from Ted from Cardiff. Hi, Ted. And he's asking how much of the course is practical and how much of it is academic writing. Sarah, could you take that one? What do you reckon the breakdown is?
Oh, well, there's one of the units out of the 4 units that we have on the course is writing an essay. I know that's the bit that everybody worries about because it might have been a little bit of time since you wrote an essay, but actually it's such a good exercise to sit down and do your research. You know, there's quite a lot of reading involved throughout the course, but you know, this is the unit where you really get an opportunity just to delve into some really good reading and be really critical about what you're reading as well. So we really, in the mentor groups, we're really encouraging the students to talk to one another about the way that they've responded to the texts that we're drawing to their attention. And we have, as Helen said, we have some really, really useful debates. And sometimes we don't reach any conclusions about things, but it's, you know, the discussion is so useful. And it's all about really just opening up your mind to different possibilities. And that's what that unit is about, really. That essay writing, it's an opportunity to choose your own focus for the essay. And we really look back through history as well towards how things have been done in the past and how things are done elsewhere currently. So it's about broadening your horizons, opening your eyes to new possibilities and exploring those possibilities and backing them up with some really good academic writing. And I promise you that we help you to write the essay. And we put masses of guidelines out and we read drafts and send feedback. So that's the real academic unit. And then the other ones, I think, you know, like the unit we're just finishing now is quite practical because we're writing curriculums at the moment. So whilst it has, you know, all of the reading and the academic side of things that we've done leading up to this point have been so useful, and they're really impacting on then what you design in your curriculum. And it's lovely when we get to this point of the year and we see all those coming into the curriculum. So that's quite a practical one because then you can take it out and you use it. And I get emails from students who've been on the course saying, you know, I used some of those ideas that we discussed in one of those mentor groups, or it all just pulls together. I've just finished my first year of learning with my new beginners since finishing the PGCert course, and I've used so many of those new ideas, and it's just fab having that document up there for me to pull stuff out of. So that's a very practical one, but with some sort of academic backup. The technique course, the unit that Helen was talking about, that is very, very practical based, and the assessment for that unit as well is practical because it's a demonstration of how you would teach a certain technique. And also, just as Anne was saying, actually, there is an opportunity for people to really home in on a technique that perhaps they feel less comfortable with, because they choose which technique they want to focus on for their assessment. And what is lovely is that at the summer school, all the students get together and watch little sort of trial run-throughs of these demos that they've all planned. And then they give each other advice and support and say, well, I really love the ideas that you had for that shifting exercise. That was brilliant. And I really think you should develop that a little bit further. And then they carry on chatting about these things over lunch, and they really support each other in those journeys. So I think it's a really great kind of balance of academic and practical, and they feed each other anyway, those two sides of the course.
Yeah. And Laura, there are these 4 units we keep talking about. Perhaps you could just go over what those 4 are.
Yes, so there are 4 units, and the idea is to really give the students a breadth of reflection and experience across the year of study. So we do have one essay, and the essay is a sort of historical overview of pedagogic practices. What is the teaching like in your instrument? How has it happened, and how is it now? And the students pick an aspect of teaching and they focus on that. And it's really important to say throughout each of the units, the students choose what they do. It's never, you are told this and you must do that. It's your life, it's your CPD, this is your course to make useful for your teaching. So that one is an academic essay. There's the technique unit where, again, as Helen explained and then Sarah just described, the students choose the focus. So what Helen didn't take the credit for is the unit leaders provide an awful lot of resources and pre-prepared materials. They make webinars, they make very digestible sort of tours through the main content of each of these units. So when Helen said, oh, we talk about all the techniques, that means she's prepared the bare bones of the skeleton of what are fundamental string playing pedagogy, techniques, and how do you go about explaining them. Then in the mentor groups, the students and the mentors discuss, actually, I'm really good at this one. I don't know much about that one. All my students are in this level. I teach intermediate to advanced students. I'd like to talk about, the different kinds of shifting rather than just the basic bow hold. We say, that's great. So then for that unit, students make a 5-minute video of presenting a technique, like to another teacher, almost an intellectual presentation that involves the high-level thinking, demonstrating what are some of the things you might do in a lesson, but really unpicking the technique. And then for the other part of the assessment, they give a 10-minute video demo of them teaching the technique to a real student. So the course it's taught online, but it also integrates an awful lot of online you video yourself and reflect. And saying, when Sarah said they all watch their practice clips, we get used to watching ourselves early on. And that's something that, as performers and teachers, people watch us, but we don't often watch ourselves back. And it's a really good practice. So that's the technique unit. Then we have a unit about teaching lessons. And you have a whole lesson that you teach, and you basically dissect it and discuss what went on in the lesson. How much time did that student play? How much time did I talk? What kind of language did I use? How could I have structured it better? Did I actually do that really fun thing where the student was supposed to invent something? Or did I just barrel through and keep to a textbook schedule? And that is it's personal, because the student chooses their video, they choose what they're going to discuss, and they plan it. And it's that's a really good teaching one for everyone involved. And then finally, the unit that we have now is the creating a 1-year curriculum. And on that one, so the students go from both the microscopic view to the macro, view of the whole universe, where they produce a whole 1-year curriculum, but then they also produce a sort of short-term, 6-week topic plan, and they do one detailed lesson plan. And that gives a chance, actually in practice, speaking for myself, having taught for 20-odd, not quite 30 years, but, long time of private students. In the beginning, for a while, I went week to week and had my notebook with students' names and what pieces they were playing and what I had to do, but I certainly didn't have the foresight at the beginning to look ahead several months and think, if we take a little time and I introduce this, it'll be so much easier later. And so taking the time to think about a whole curriculum, it challenges people to say, what repertoire do I use? What you know, who do I listen to? Where do I draw upon to get new ideas and resources? And it also gives you like a fantastic resource, like a recipe book to use in the future. So Sarah's saying people write back and say, I used that. It's brilliant when you have a student have a sort of bad spell, or you think, oh no, school exams, what can I do? Oh, there's that, you know, I came up with those 3 extra games. I'm going to use those. And and you get so many ideas from one another, because what does happen in the course is the students talk to one another. So there is the watching of the prepared material from other people, but there's also the discussions in the mentor groups and online across groups.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that, Laura. And we were also talking, actually, before we came online, we were having a little chat. And Helen was telling me how we were talking about who this course was appropriate for, what sorts of teachers. You know, is it just one-to-ones? And Helen said that it actually focuses on group teaching as well. Is that right, Helen?
Yeah, I mean, this course is really for anyone interested in teaching and in whatever setting. So, I mean, Sarah and I are very passionate about group teaching and large group teaching too. But we also, a lot of our teachers predominantly teach one-to-one students, or one-to-one with their students. So, as Laura, I think, has said, this, you know, we tailor the course and the essays and each unit to our students' own needs, whatever they're interested in, whatever they would like to develop. So, I mean, sometimes we've had people who haven't done a lot of group teaching, but no, actually they're going to have to do it. You know, they're sort of quite reluctant, but by the end are feeling a lot more confident, and, you know, are really willing to really embrace it and the advantages of that. So yeah, we cover everything, every, you know, adults, special needs, you know, tiny tots, everything. We do the lot.
That's great, having that support. I mean, I've always been terrified at the thought of group teaching. It seems so daunting. And I just imagine myself spending the entire lesson just getting them tuned up. And that's fantastic to be able to sort of share the ideas, not just with you as a mentor, but with other members of your group, of course, who've may have had experience, you know, in how to get through that. So that's a really helpful thing. We've had a question from Mary from Hull, who's asked, are there any special discounts available for the course? So the course fee for UK people is £3,495. For international students, it's £4,495. But if you are a member of ESTA, any ESTA in Europe, so it doesn't have to be just the UK branch of ESTA, but any of the European branches of ESTA, you can get the course for, drumroll, £2,950, which is a total bargain, because it also includes, at the end of the course this year, if you sign up in September now, at the end of the year, you will come to the ESTA Summer School next year, which is just a lovely way to finish off your course and to meet all those people you've been getting to grips with online all year. You actually then get to meet them in person, which is a really, really lovely thing. So that's nice. We also had another question come in, ask perhaps Sarah, you could take this one, asking, does the PG Cert help me in any way with my online teaching, which I'm now suddenly having to do? I imagine it's going to be a hot topic in the course this year. Yeah,
almost like we need a new unit, isn't it? Yes. Yeah, I mean, actually, we've had some really interesting discussions in our mentor groups just this term, because we're all in this together. You know, we're all learning all the time anyway, but at the moment we are all on this huge sort of accelerated learning curve, and it's been lovely to share our experiences within our mentor groups. Yeah, I think it does help, because, you know, I'm so glad actually for the experience that I've had teaching on this course, now that we've all found ourselves in the situation we're in now, particularly from sort of making webinars and just getting used to seeing myself on camera and operating technology whilst teaching at the same time. So yeah, I think absolutely it could definitely help, and it's definitely something that the mentors can bring into their groups, because we will naturally just change the focus of our discussions slightly, because we're all doing it differently now. So it will be really interesting to see on the course next year actually what discussions we have, and whether people in different countries are doing things differently. And I think for me personally, it's just been fascinating to see how children have responded to teaching online, so in so many different ways. And I'm actually really enjoying experimenting with the technology that I now can use. Was always a little bit terrified of, but I have a room full of microphones and all sorts of things, and making videos. And so yes, I think it would be definitely a really good move for people who are now going to be working online.
Well, we hope ESTA will be able to support you in your learning journey, whatever that is. If you want to sign up for the course, remember, go to estaeducation.co.uk. You can read all about it there, and you can apply there. There's a £300 deposit, and then you have an interview online. And if you pass the interview, then you're into the course. And if you don't, you get your £300 back. So that's pretty good, isn't it? Just before we leave, I'd just love to ask Laura, so after you've done your PG Cert, what do you do then?
Well, you keep teaching, but also some of the students who've graduated from the postgraduate certificate have chosen to go on and complete their master's at Chichester. So the credits are fully accepted from the PG Cert as the first third of the master's course. And they can go on to either do a master's in performance or, subject to approval that should be approved in the next couple of weeks, one hopes, master's in teaching. So with a teaching focus. And so you can take this, the reflective component and your skills further. And that would involve a teaching dissertation, which is writing, but there you go. That's what happens at when you do a full MA. And that one is accessed like the PG Cert online or face-to-face. So we've had, currently there are students from Hong Kong, Singapore, and China who had graduated from the PG Cert who are now completing their MA.
Brilliant. I love it. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining me tonight. It's been great to meet you all. So if you'd like to have a whole year of their time, them popping into your life every week, do sign up for the course. It would be great to meet you all, and hopefully to meet you as well, of course, on the summer school next summer. So thank you very much, and good night.